want to talk briefly about reselling and white labeling for a moment.
Sure.
If a company essentially purchases VoIP services at a wholesale rate and then resells that same VoIP service at a retail price point to an end user organization, how should the taxation work, and or where should the burden of calculation, collection, and remittance lie?
Okay. So when I discussed the business structure, so that comes down to the commercial relationship between supplier, retailer, and consumer. So there are three parties involved. It's whoever is supplying something, whoever is selling it, and I won't use the word resell because that's a trigger word, and the retail consumer. The FCC, departments of revenue, state regulators, to regulate an industry requires some degree of simplicity. And telecommunications coming from a history of being heavily regulated and now supposedly less so, but that's a bit of a myth, has created again, binary. You either are regulated or you aren't. I guess the expression is you can't be half pregnant. You're one or the other as far as the FCC is concerned, as far as the regulators are concerned. If you're not a seller of communication services that's regulated, so regulated category, then you are a agent, a sales agent. That's the other category that is recognized. There's nothing in between. So regulated, you're the service provider. Non-regulated, you're an agent. That's the universe. That is the legal construct within which we have to operate as legal professionals, as well as the industry itself. Well, that's pretty inconvenient for cloud communication services because they're easy to sell. All right. They're easy to deploy. And for the companies that are providing the platforms or the cloud solutions themselves, they want to tap into the MSPs and the companies that have the relationship with the end user to provide those services because there's an existing relationship. They don't have to hire a massive sales force to do the old long distance wars of the 90s with MCI and AT&T calling mom and pop and all the businesses nationwide to switch long distance to sell cloud services using that channel is really the way the past 10 years we've seen these cloud services get into the marketplace. But when someone is buying at a lower rate, called a wholesale rate, but sometimes these agreements aren't written as wholesale resale. Why? Because they don't want it to appear to be that the MSP or the channel is taking on the role, the responsibility, all of the duties, all the obligations, all the risks, all the liabilities of being a service provider. But they're making it possible for MSPs to act the way a service provider acts. And one of the key things in acting like a communication services provider that's regulated is control over the rates. So when someone sells a downstream retailer, and now I'll call it a reseller, when they sell a reseller something and that reseller takes the same thing, marks it up, puts it on an invoice, and then has a relationship with the end user where the end user is looking to them for providing all the account services, everything that, well, you're billing me for the service and therefore you must be the service provider. You're holding yourself out there as the service provider. Again, what we've seen in our practice is I call them Frankenstein agreements between suppliers and the channel. some, take a provision from a traditional telecom resale agreement just to ensure that they're passing liabilities and that they're not exposed, making it somewhat open-ended in terms of how they can price out services to the retail consumer. So again, the commercial agreements in the marketplace that have developed over the course of the past decade are a wide variety, and few of them are pure sales agency any longer, and fewer are pure wholesale reseller. The vast middle is filled with a variety of different types of private label agreements, mishmash agency resale agreements. And as I'll explain in a bit, those tend to carry significant risks with them. And we can discuss those in just a moment.
All right, absolutely. Thank you very much.